Thanks to Humblebee for requesting this video. Yep, third request, but this just happened to be a movie I wanted to do as well.
Ah, yes, the good old days when Disney logos didn't have to conform to whatever movie. Well,
Since when is that a sin? You hate logos anyway, so shouldn't you at least appreciate any movie that changes their logos to match the film it's attached to?
Yeah, I'd argue stylizing logos is a better idea because it gives the audience something interesting to look at while studios get their obligatory mark of ownership out of the way.
What the? Who are you?
Hi, Captain Vader. I'm Grandy Tamias. I also do everything wrong with CinemaSins videos, and I have some knowledge and opinions about Lilo and Stitch.
as opposed to the Galactic Federation headquarters on planet Zenzion?
So, are you sitting the movie because it's telling you that this federation is on one specific planet, as if that's obvious? That's odd, because this is a fictional alien society that we are just now being introduced to. I would agree with the filmmakers that we need to know that this isn't Earth.
Dr. Jumba Jukiba.
Why does this space court have the defendant standing on some sort of a floating pod while he's being read the charges? It always seems like movies do this to make things look out of this world, but I have a lot of logistical questions for these aliens. And I'm sure
Wait, what was that?
out of this world, but I have a lot of logistical questions for these
Lodge is ickle?
logistical.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
But I have a lot of logistical questions for these aliens. And I'm sure I'll look stupid when they explain why. Because they're aliens and more advanced and have centuries of floaty pod knowledge that I don't have.
Yes, exactly. You should just accept this society's design as is. They have their own rules that are different from Earth. The bigger question I'd ask is, why are all these aliens speaking English?
Far be it from me to give Disney new spin-off ideas, but if it's gonna happen, I need a full TV series on Disney Plus about this.
Skip!
What is that monstrosity?
I guess I'm supposed to be appalled by Stitch, but do I think the other multi-armed, many-eyed aliens are normal? Not 2 feet from you, there's an octopus with a robot body, but he's cool.
Again, these are aliens. They have different ways of viewing things. From their perspective, Stitch is an abomination.
Everyone reacts to a made-up language like they just said something super offensive, even though everyone has been speaking English up until now. Cliche.
Jeremy invents a cliche that he only used this one time cliche.
Also, sinning Miga Nalaquista! That's worth a few extra.
Are we going to get subtitled alien locations for every new room? I think we get the idea without having it spelled out. Even the kiddos. In fact, especially the kiddos.
Hey Jeremy, do you notice the word transport here? Yeah, this isn't another room. This is literally an entirely different spaceship.
The Council has banished you to exile on a desert asteroid.
The Space Council follows the precedent set by the Parallax case and simply banishes Stitch, despite calling him a product of a deranged mind. Why let space handle this when you could just keep Stitch in this indestructible glass jar?
Mentioning the Green Lantern movie. Also, Jumbo literally explained that Stitch was created for destruction. Why would they keep him around, even in an indestructible glass jar? What if he figured a way out? Banishing him is the safer option.
These guns are locked onto your genetic signature.
Again, indestructible jar. Why was he taken out of that? Why is there a prisoner system dedicated to genetically locked guns when you have the jar?
This is only temporary until they reach the asteroid they want to dump him on. The Galactic Federation doesn't want to put in the resources to keep 626 as a prisoner because they're disgusted by his presence. Furthermore, the jars are not indestructible, as we see him break one to save Lilo at the end of the movie.
These look like pretty complicated and well thought out genetic cannons for no one to have considered the saliva corollary.
Oh, come on. You're using the same logic you used in the Wild Robot video, that because the technology is so insanely advanced that it's practically perfect. How about maybe this tech was created by screenwriters and that they just decided that they have flaws? Doesn't that make it more interesting than just saying they were prepared for everything?
What game is this hammerhead playing? He's holding these things like cards, but isn't he the only one in the room? Is there a solitaire game where you hold your cards in your hand like this? Also, some asshole who was hired to pay attention isn't paying attention so that the movie can happen. Cliche.
Yeah, no, this guy was paying attention, and yet Stitch was still able to escape. There's a moment in this very scene where the guy runs to the door, Stitch spits on him, and the guns shoot that direction, destroying the door.
He's loose on deck C!
But he hasn't escaped yet. That armadillo alien can see the future.
No, they clearly detected the guns destroying the door, and so concluded that Stitch must have done that damage and escaped through them. Now I feel like I'm talking to a child again.
Those lasers just blasted through a security door a moment ago, but now they can't penetrate this material? Stitch is looking pretty badass, but his escape isn't adding up. I smell an inside job.
The obvious answer to this is that whatever these restraints are made of is stronger than whatever the door was made of. If 626 can break these while the guns were distracted, he could have gotten through the doors too.
Hyperdrive activated.
Stitch activates the hyperdrive, which, wait, why does this small alien police ship have a hyperdrive? I'm pretty sure I read somewhere or saw in a movie completely unrelated to this that said something about little ships not being capable of hyperdrive. And I'm sticking to that made-up rule that I can't properly reference.
I love how you straight up admit that this rule is super flimsy, and yet you say it anyway. And I know you're thinking of Star Wars, by the way, and just because those movies have that rule doesn't mean every sci-fi movie does that.
A planet called Yarth.
You speak our language fluently. How do you not know our planet's name?
You serious? Because they speak English, they should immediately know how to pronounce Earth? If we use this logic, then toddlers who are learning to read should be able to read every word correctly the first time.
We have to guess the planet.
Conveniently quirky scientist who just happens to know everything about Earth and has a Viewmaster presentation at the ready, even though it just came up in the last 60 seconds, is quirky and convenient.
I think you mean he thinks he knows everything about Earth. And they also literally called him when they saw Stitch crashing. And knowing how quirky Pleakley is, I don't doubt he had a Viewmaster at the ready. You mean to tell me that you don't think he wouldn't want to brag about his vast knowledge? Because I know that happens from first-hand experience that definitely isn't over my knowledge of the Matrix.
Can we not simply destroy the island?
Amazing to me that this head council member decided to banish Stitch earlier, but was ready to gas an entire planet to kill Stitch just a second ago. I thought the reason why they banished him was because of some sort of opposition to the death penalty. Now I realize it was just a plot device.
You are right to infer that the Galactic Federation is opposed to the death penalty, but that was before 626 landed on Earth, which would risk exposing their existence to the humans. And fearing that the humans may become hostile after finding out they aren't alone in the universe, that's why the Grand Councilwoman wanted to kill them and 626 all in one fell swoop.
Plasma cannon granted. Do we have a bargain, Dr. Jumba?
Sure, give the guy who just self-described himself as an evil genius a plasma cannon, because this seems like exactly the thing that will bring about solutions.
Yeah, and that's because Jumba said he would need it to capture Stitch. Remember, he literally created him, so of course he knows what needs to be done.
Nirvana did it better.
Arbitrary reference.
Is there an ideas union now? This is one of the weirdest credits ever put into a film, based on a freaking idea? Chris, we're gonna go with your idea, but we can only pay you idea money, and you will be compensated as such. I know that's not as much as dream money, but times are tight.
Chris Sanders isn't just the idea guy. He was also one of the writers and directors of this film, and he's also the voice of Stitch, and he would later go on to direct How to Train Your Dragon and Wild Robot. You better put some respect on this guy's name.
Everyone in the fucking world can see there's 4 girls coming out for this song, but this guy counts each one as if it's difficult to see that a 5th one is missing. Also, this never would have happened if he had cast Moana instead.
Arbitrary movie reference.
Ew, she bit me.
You're a lying asshole, little girl. During this entire sequence, Lilo lays a fistful of smackdown on you and never once bites or has the chance to bite your arm.
But Lilo does apologize to Myrtle later, so we know she did bite her, and it could have happened when this girl was blocking them in this shot.
Okay, so Nani was on the way to pick up Lilo at her massive failure of a dance recital, only to find out that Lilo had left before she got there. But how did Lilo get back to the house without Nani seeing her, since it appears there's only one way to get here? Furthermore, how did Lilo have time to nail the door shut? And I guess she also did this to the back door since Nani isn't even trying it. And why doesn't she have a house key?
Whoa, slow down there, buddy. The gish galloping you're doing makes it really hard to concentrate on all these questions you're asking. Let's go through these one at a time.
But how did Lilo get back to the house without Nani seeing her, since it appears there's only one way to get here?
It's possible Nani could have gotten off of work and went to go pick up Lilo.
Furthermore, how did Lilo have time to nail the door shut?
Nani doesn't drive, or at least not often. She had to run all the way to the dance recital and then run back to the house. How small do you think this town is?
And I guess she also did this to the back door since Nani isn't even trying it.
What kind of logic is that? Because Lilo puts nails in the back door, which she didn't by the way, Nani doesn't even think to try it? How would she know if she didn't even try it?
And why doesn't she have a house key?
Fair question, but you had to ask all these other questions first, so you still get a sin.
Also, how is this supposed to indicate that Lilo nailed the door shut? By pounding nails partially into a frame? How does this magic work?
As we see later, this door opens into the house, so the nails only needed to be crudely hammered into the frame to obstruct the door.
You left the stove on while you were out.
Chloe! Just a simmer.
A social worker arrives at a house and an unusual amount of crazy bullshit goes wrong during their visit cliche.
Jeremy just points out what's happening on the screen and calls it a cliche.
Also, Nani is a terrible human being who should have Lilo taken away from her immediately, and no amount of animated bullshit redemption will change my mind on this.
This is so funny after the live-action remake.
Yeah, I guess so. More importantly, why is Nani a terrible human being? What has she done to be called terrible? I'll grant you she's not a very good parent, but think about her situation. The parents died, and now Nani is suddenly supposed to act like the responsible adult so she can raise Lilo, her younger sister. Well, I'm not a parent yet. I've gathered that no one is prepared to raise children, especially when it's so sudden. And I would say Nani tries as hard as she can to raise Lilo, but considering how difficult Lilo is in general, of course you wouldn't be able to get it right all the time. And there's no redemption that happens since there's nothing to redeem in the first place. This entire sin is stupid and deserves more than one sin.
My friends need to be punished.
Just in case you forgot that our protagonist was a 6-year-old psychopath, movie is here to remind you every few seconds.
Nah, it's to remind you specifically.
In case you're wondering, this did not go well. You have 3 days to change my mind.
How the f*** does that work? You already suspect the worst. So what does 3 days do? This isn't a failed admissions test where you either fix your car or you use one of the many cheats to pass on it. Like, quite literally, it looks like all Nani has to do is clean the house and make sure the front door isn't nailed shut, and she'll be considered a fit guardian.
And also improve as a guardian to Lilo. Need I remind you of that one scene where Bubbles asked Lilo how Nani is, and she made Nani look like an actual terrible parent?
Can we talk for a sec about Lilo's early onset fat fetish? At some point, a childhood quirk of photographing large white people's close-up places becomes something to discuss with a professional. Otherwise, you might grow up to be Tom Ford directing Nocturnal Animals.
This is one of a couple of hints in this movie that Lilo could be autistic. And as someone who is also on the spectrum, I can say that we have quirks like this when we're young. And maybe she was being taken to a professional before her parents died.
Where are all these guns even coming from?
Hammer space.
How the hell did Jumba even know to find Stitch here? The aliens only knew he landed on the island, but couldn't possibly have known that a trucker ran him over and took him to an animal shelter.
Oh, this has a very simple explanation. They looked for him and found him here. Like, you know Jumba has a heat ray they could use to look inside any buildings, right? And wouldn't an animal shelter be the first place you'd look anyway?
Adopt Plus today?
This joke.
Okay, awesome shout out to the animation studios that helped make Lilo and Stitch possible. But what a ridiculous place to put it. It's like you're saying that the characters in this movie can't see it or won't read it and wonder what the f*** it's talking about. Hell, it even contains the name Lilo. And the name Lilo gives the creature right after this contract is signed. Which would make me think this animal shelter dabbles in witchcraft.
Just like in my Finding Dory video, Jeremy doesn't understand how Easter eggs work. And while this isn't exactly that, it has the same idea behind it. It's just meant to be something for the animators to throw in and is not supposed to mean anything within the film's story. And I get that's your whole shtick, that you're supposed to be a hyper-observant a-hole, but it's not fun to watch.
Grand Theft Big Wheel.
This is your badness level.
Coloring book shaving.
Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
Did you catch fire again?
God help this movie if I see someone do one Mockingjay gesture.
Considering this film predates the first Hunger Games book by 6 whole years, I think you'll be fine.
I gotta go. The kid at table 3's throwing poi again.
Because how else would Hawaii be a character in this movie if it wasn't for the casual poi reference?
I mean, was anyone offended by this? I think it's worth pointing out that this and several other instances of Nani using Hawaiian slang were ad-libbed by her voice actress, Tia Carrere, who is from Hawaii.
The manager's a vampire, and he wanted me to join his Legion of the Undead.
I almost said I'd rather watch that movie, but I'm pretty sure that's the plot to Hotel Transylvania 3, so I'm good.
You and I remember Hotel Transylvania 3 very differently.
This is a great home. You'll like it a lot.
Is this movie seriously trying to tell me that they haven't been home once since they got Stitch?
Yes.
Why does this shadow have 4 arms when Stitch is clearly operating with 2?
Stitch obviously retracted his secondary arms in the time that it took for the camera to pan to him.
He's sad because he's all alone and nobody wants him. But on this page, his family hears him crying, and they find him.
This abridged story of the Ugly Duckling completely misses the point of the story of the Ugly Duckling. He wasn't just lost and found, he was mocked and considered himself an outcast, but grew into a beautiful swan anyway.
But that's a perfect analogy for both Lilo and Stitch's characters. Stitch was mocked and outcast because the Galactic Federation was disgusted by him and wanted to banish him, while Lilo was mocked by the other hula girls and outcast from trying to become friends with them. And the part about them growing into beautiful swans could be them finding a family in each other.
but I cannot ignore you being jobless. Do I make myself clear?
This is just a reminder that the social services guy even exists. He said he'd be back in 3 days, so I don't understand why he's back now, just to give Nani a warning.
He wasn't just giving a warning. He was telling Nani to get a job because he heard that she lost her previous one. You kind of need a job to raise a kid.
Good. Now kiss her.
While I'm amused with all the hijinks, being a tremendous hijinks fan, these little vignettes make me continue to be judgy about Nani's parenting skills. She lost her job because of Lilo and Stitch. She's failed at her job interviews because of them. And there apparently is no end in sight to their undisciplined behavior. Yet she keeps bringing them with her on every single interview, expecting them to wait quietly whenever she leaves them.
First, Jeremy sends something he likes cliche.
Also, it doesn't appear that Nani has any friends that she could just ask to watch over them, and I doubt she'd even want to, considering how messy Stitch can be. And I don't think it's the best idea to just leave them both a home where Stitch can make a bigger mess. Not only that, but Bubbles told Lilo to turn Stitch into a model citizen. And since the deadline is coming up soon, why not just do both at the same time? Kill two birds with one stone.
This is supposed to be a sad moment, but I will refer you to the multiple sins where I talked about how terrible a parent Nani is, and how she didn't bother to do anything after 3 failed interviews.
What did you want her to do exactly?
Also, I know nothing about surfing, but isn't riding one with a little girl on it dangerous? Like, it might change the weight and the maneuverability of the board. I don't know, which is why I'll sin it and ask for forgiveness later.
Or you could have just not added a sin just in case you're wrong. I've done that a handful of times. Does that mean I can add sins like this in the future? Because that sounds fun.
Nani's tireless job search continues, but the poor woman just can't drum up any luck.
I mean, it's not like she would have had luck anyway with Stitch being around, so they might as well have some fun. And David does manage to find her a job offer the next morning, so it's not like she's running out of time by this point.
Something is not right. 626 is returning willingly to water.
Oh, right, because it was mentioned once in this movie that he was too dense to survive in water, or something. Yada yada plot something, yada yada family, yada yada closing song, cut, print, move on.
What's your point?
Jumba completely pulls the Meg on Stitch here.
I agree, it is ridiculous. But not as ridiculous as that laugh.
You need to think about what's best for Lilo, even if it removes you from the picture.
This is 100% abso-frickin-lutely true, and I'm not sure why the movie is trying to convince us otherwise.
It's not. The movie is fully aware that Nani isn't a good parent and has to think about what's best for Lilo. The sadness comes from the potential of these sisters being torn apart.
Aloha, oi.
Ah, yes, the traditional Hawaiian song you sing when social services declares you an unfit guardian, just like Colonel James Harbottle Boyd intended.
Singing this scene, and by the way, this song literally means farewell to thee, and that's what makes this such a heartbreaking scene.
That's us before.
Disney remember there must be a dead parent or two in every movie?
Even Hercules?
Sure, it's alien technology, but what makes us think this phone would be waterproof? Maybe I'm both making up a sin because I want to and answering my own question. This job will tie you in knots sometimes.
Okay, but you acknowledge there's an explanation for this scene, so you shouldn't have added a sin, and instead just kept the sin counter the same. It would make these videos far more interesting if you don't add a sin for everything.
I need you to stay here for a few minutes. I'm gonna be right back.
She's 6. You can't leave a 6-year-old at home alone. This is why you're in trouble in the first place. You have learned nothing.
Hang on, wouldn't this count as her learning from her mistakes since you sinned Lilo and Stitch for messing up the job interviews anyway? And there's also the fact that Stitch is gone at this point.
Your rules.
3 minutes ago, Jumba didn't want to shoot because Stitch was expensive to make. Make up your mind.
It's not that Jumbo wasn't willing to cause damage to Stitch that would be expensive to repair. He was. He wanted to try and talk Stitch down earlier so that he didn't have to do that.
Oh, good. They're home aloning him. Yay.
Arbitrary movie reference.
Gantu captures Lilo and Stitch and throws them into a jar, which attaches to the ship on the outside. All this alien technology and knowledge, and you store shit on the outside of your ship?
Yes.
Experiment 626 is in custody.
Yeah, but didn't the commander tell them that they were fired and prison-bound? Was it implied that as long as they tried really hard that they wouldn't be fired and prison-bound? Blakely doesn't even wait for an answer, which should have been met with confusion since everyone thinks Gantu has Stitch.
Yes, but if they can capture Stitch before Gantu does, they believe they might have a chance to redeem themselves to the Grand Councilwoman.
Also, Jeremy has never heard of leave a message at the beep.
Look at the bright side. You won't have to yell at anyone anymore.
I'm not sure I ever realized how terrifyingly dark this movie is. Are we sure Fincher didn't direct it?
And what's the problem with this movie being dark? We can't include dark things in animated movies? Because I feel like The Lion King was pretty dang dark for Scar killing Mufasa and then tricking Simba into thinking he was directly responsible for that. Isn't that movie regarded as one of the greatest animated films ever?
You expect me to help you just like that? Fine.
You're doing what he says.
He's very persuasive.
The entire reason Jumba helps is written off as a joke and never explored again. It's almost like an ex machina where the screenwriters themselves are the god from the machine.
You said it yourself, Jeremy. It was a joke, and a really good one at that. So, sitting this joke.
Nobody who watches the skies for a living has noticed 2 spaceships flying around Earth the past 2 days.
You don't know that!
And the winner for most non-hilarious running gag in an animated film goes to Sunburn Guy Loses Mint Chocolate Chip Ice Cream Cone.
Suggesting this gag isn't funny.
Get off my ship!
This ship has a control that allows you to point the engines in different directions. And my point is, that's bull.
Or that's alien technology. Why haven't you understood this yet?
Nice. Are we doing the A113 thing? Except we've already seen that license plate in Lilo's room and on a fire truck. Considering states won't issue the same plate twice, you've officially over Easter egged. Congratulations, Disney. You played yourself.
Sending Pixar's Easter eggs. Wait.
No. No f***ing way. I'll suspend my disbelief for cartoon physics occasionally, but damn.
This laugh.
I am retiring you, Captain Gantu.
Geez, this councilwoman sure does make snap decisions based on very small sample sizes. This is completely against her character as introduced, when she asked the council to give Stitch a chance to prove himself at the beginning of the movie, even though he was considered an abomination. I guess that experience turned her into George Steinbrenner.
Didn't Gantu attempt to capture Stitch and failed? How's that comparable to, let's give this creature a chance to prove itself?
I paid $2 for him. See the snap? I own him.
This little plea will not only set Stitch free, but also allow Nani to keep Lilo. Because why would Earth or intergalactic laws matter when everyone's heart cockles are warm? The real laws were the friends we made along the way.
Doesn't this councilwoman then say that the Galactic Federation will watch over the family now that Stitch is living with them?
Also, in an intergalactic court, a judge would tell this girl that because the council's decision to banish Stitch to an asteroid came before said contract was signed, that whatever is contained in the contract is null and void, including, and especially, the shoutouts to the Florida Feature Animation Studio, the California and Paris Feature Animation Studios, and Disney MGM.
And we're bringing this sin back from earlier. Double dipping.
This won't be easy to explain back at headquarters.
Bubbles is going to go back and tell his people at social services that Nani, who was a horrible guardian, suddenly became a great one, after all the reports to the contrary. And he probably can't bring up aliens without being sent to a psych ward, so either way, Bubbles will be out of a job because we want Lilo and Stitch to continue having adventures.
Cobra was referring to the CIA headquarters, not social services. He used to work for the CIA and had prior contact with aliens. In fact, his CIA connections even come up a few times in the TV show.
Convinced an alien race that mosquitoes were an endangered species.
Well, that joke just came full circle, didn't it? How did that prevent the aliens from attacking exactly? Why did mosquitoes even come up in the conversation? Also, Blakely clearly said we are using Earth to rebuild the mosquito population. Like that was their plan all along.
The goal of Cobra convincing the Galactic Federation that mosquitoes are an endangered species was to protect humans by extension, since Blakely said earlier that humans are part of the mosquito's food chain.
In the real world, and yes, I consider the world of Lilo and Stitch to be 100% realistic.
Skip.
Well, that went nicely. Good job.
Thanks, but the work's not done yet, and I'm gonna need some help.
Sure, why the heck not?